What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Dallas's own Maurice Hooker has signed with Al Heyman in the PBC, a multi-fight deal. He was previously signed to Matchroom Boxing. His promoter was Eddie Hearn, but they have released him from that contract. The money is drying up with the zone. They're having financial difficulties, is what I'm hearing. They put a lot of money into two fighters, Canelo Alvarez and Triple G, and they haven't got the return on their investment that they thought they were going to do. So they're letting fighters go left and right, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you see the zone go bye-bye in the U.S. market. But let's look at Maurice Hooker, man. The guy's out of Dallas, Texas, man. He's going to sign with Al Heyman in the zone, man, and Michael Coppinger is reporting this on his Twitter account. Got the information from his Twitter account. He's reporting this information. Maurice Hooker, man, you know his record is 27-1. He's 31 years old. He's a very good fighter, good jab, tall, lanky fighter. You know, when you saw him fighting at the junior welterweight division, you was like, man, this guy's got a real tall frame. How long is he gonna be able to stay at the 140-pound limit? I could easily see him when he was fighting in that weight class. I was like, man, this guy's gonna have to eventually move up to welterweight, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised before his career is over with, he'd move up to junior middleweight. Man, he's got a very, very tall frame. I would assume he's around 5'11", at least 5'11". He could be even taller than that, man. But he's a very tall, lanky guy with a long reach. So when I first watched this guy fight, he first caught my eye was when he fought Alex Josesito. Alex Josesito is a rough and tumble, rugged fighter out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, man. And he had fought this fight previously before he fought Hooker, man. It was one of those Fight of the Year candidates, man. It was a knockout, drag out type of matchup, man. Rock'em sock'em robot type of matchup, man. Great phone booth battle, man. He was able to win that fight in Josesito. And he fought Maurice Hooker, man, and Maurice Hooker fought him in his hometown of Oklahoma City, and Maurice Hooker went in there and put on a beautiful performance, a beautiful exhibition of technical skills, and showing that there was levels to this game of boxing as he outclassed, outsmarted, and dissected Alex Josesito, and he's able to win that matchup. And I think he even captured a belt at that matchup. After that fight, he went on and took on Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez is a guy that's guy out of Fresno, California, a very rugged fighter, but with fundamental skills behind. He's just not the guy like that's just coming forward, taking two punches and land his punches. He's a guy that he comes forward, but he comes forward responsibly, setting up his shots to the body, setting up his shots inside. And he was able to get Maurice Hooker into his type of fight, a phone booth battle, toe-to-toe scrap, and he was able to eventually break down Maurice Hooker as he defeated Maurice Hooker, actually in Maurice Hooker's hometown. That fight took place in a Dallas Cowboys practice facility in Fresno, Texas. Kind of funny how a guy from Fresno, California, and Jose Ramirez went to Fresno, Texas, right outside of the hometown of Maurice Hooker, and defeated him basically in his backyard in a unification matchup at 140 pounds, junior welterweight limit. Now, I'm going to drop y'all a nugget now. You're going to hear a lot of people say, you know, well, man, Maurice Hooker signed with Al Heyman and PBC. And I got a nugget for you guys. What I'm hearing is they're looking to stage Maurice Hooker versus Josesito Lopez on the undercard of Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. November 21st on Fox pay-per-view. Could be the co-main event too. Right now it's going to be on the undercard, and they're still trying to work out a couple of fights. But they're still trying. The PBC and their matchmakers are still trying to work out their fall and winter schedule for Fox, and they're still trying to match up a couple of fighters. And they're still trying to see what fighters they're going to put on this card, or they're going to put them on another card, and they're still trying to work some things out. They're still dotting their I's and crossing their T's, so to speak. So that fight could possibly be the co-main event, but it's definitely going to be on the undercard of Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. So you heard it here first. Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia pay-per-view matchup. You will see Maurice Hooker, another guy from the hometown and from the same area of Errol Spence Jr., who's out of DeSoto, Texas. That's right outside of Dallas. He'll be fighting on the undercard versus Josesito Lopez. Now, Josesito Lopez is going to bring a story to himself for this matchup. You know, Josesito Lopez is 36 years old. He's been around the block in the sport of boxing, known as the Riverside Rocky. You know, you look at his resume. He's been in there with some big names. You know, remember he came onto the scene. Before I talk about the Victor Ortiz fight, remember he fought Jesse Vargas. And when I watched that fight, I don't know if that fight was on the undercard. I believe that fight was on the undercard of a pay-per-view fight. I can't remember. But that fight was on the undercard of a pay-per-view fight, but he fought Jesse Vargas. It might have been one of Mayweather fights, maybe Mayweather Guerrero, but I know it was on the undercard of one of Mayweather's pay-per-view fights. And I thought, that's when I first saw Josesito Lopez. I thought he won that fight against Jesse Vargas, but Jesse Vargas was the A-side in that fight, fighting under Mayweather promotion, and he got the decision win in a fight that a lot of people, including myself, thought Josesito Lopez won. So he eventually got a matchup with Victor Ortiz. This was actually supposed to be a tune-up for Victor Ortiz as he was getting ready to fight Canelo Alvarez. And Josesito Lopez upset the apple cart and upset Josesito Lopez. Broke his jaw. Made Victor Ortiz say no mas. Made him pull a Roberto Duran against Sugar Ray Leonard in a Superdome in New Orleans Saints as Ray Charles sung the national anthem. Remember that? He sung the national anthem of the great Ray Charles in that fight. Made him say no mas. Made him say no mas. Oh, beautiful. Remember Ray Charles? Oh, spacious sky. Oh, Hamburg waits away. That's old Ray Charles sung the national anthem. Y'all go back and watch the Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran, the rematch in the Superdome as the great Ray Charles, the legendary Ray Charles, sung Oh Beautiful. But let's get back to the fight at hand. That's mean Josesito Lopez versus Maurice Hooker. So it's gonna be a good matchup, man. Like I said, Josesito Lopez has been in there with some who's of boxing. Victor Ortiz broke his jaw, upset him, made him quit. Then he got to end up getting the Canelo Alvarez fight once he beat Victor Ortiz. Ended up snatching that fight from Victor Ortiz when he made him quit when he broke his jaw. And then he got dominated by Canelo Alvarez. Just too much weight. You know, he had to fight him at 154 pounds when he was actually 140 pounds at the time, and was able and end up getting stopped in that fight. But after that, he was still able to kind of catapult his career. He'd been in there with Marcus Madonna. That was a great action-packed fight, man. That was a fight of the year candidate type of fight. But Madonna had a little bit too much firepower and was able to stop Josesito Lopez in that fight. He's fought Andre Berto. Actually, I had a win in that fight against Andre Berto, but Andre Berto was able to hit him. Andre Berto got very quick hands, very quick explosive punches, and he was able to get off their combinations. He was able to end up stopping Josesito Lopez. A lot of people thought the fight would stop a little bit too premature. Josesito Lopez was upset at the referee that they stopped that fight early, but nevertheless, the problem is you don't want to get hurt and get stunned and be kind of wobbling around there doing a stinker leg at a time, and you don't want to do that and get a referee the opportunity to stop that fight, because the referee's job at the end of the day is to look out for the safety of the fighters, make sure both fighters at the end of the day go home to their families. So he stopped that fight against Andre Berto, and he was able to lose that fight. But nevertheless, man, he was able to fight Andre Berto. He fought his last fight. He fought John Molina Jr. That was on the undercard of Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Porter. That was on the card of that. Was it the Errol Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia? I believe it was the Errol Spence Jr. versus Sean Porter fight. I believe he fought on the undercard of that fight. If I'm not mistaken, that fight took place in L.A., which was right outside of Josesito Lopez's hometown of Riverside. He was able to defeat John Molina. And before that fight, he fought Keith one-time Thurman. Keith sometime Thurman. This man ain't fought maybe twice in the last 3 years. But he was able to fight Keith Thurman early part of 2019. And he put a good account of himself as in the first half of the fight, Keith Thurman dominated with his skills and his hand quickness. He was able to use the jab. He was able to get off his combinations and keep Josesito Lopez at bay. But in the second half of that fight, Josesito Lopez was able to catch up with Keith Thurman. He had Keith Thurman in bad shape. I can't remember what round it was. At the 7th, 8th, or 9th round, somewhere toward the second half, early second half of that fight, he had Keith Thurman in bad shape, bad trouble. Almost stopped Keith Thurman, and he was able to go to the body, and he had Keith Thurman on his bicycle. Nevertheless, he ended up losing the decision to Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman got that win, was able to land the Manny Pacquiao fight on pay-per-view, where he lost his WBA welterweight title via split decision. So that lets you know, Josesito Lopez, this guy's been in there with a lot of big names in the sport of boxing. So this is a good first test for Maurice Hooker, who's going to be campaigning at welterweight, moving up for junior welterweight. His last fight was not the Jose Ramirez fight. He fought a guy named Uriel. I can't remember his last name. He was a Latino fighter. That was on the undercard of Chavez Jr. Daniel Jacobs fight, which took place in Phoenix, Arizona, and he was able to get a first round highlight reel knockout. After that fight, he was in negotiations about a month or two ago for a matchup against Regis Prograis, but Maurice Hooker had outgrown the 140-pound division and was looking to make Regis Prograis fight him at welterweight, or at least fight him at 145 pounds, just below the welterweight limit. Regis Prograis told him to kick rocks. He said he's fighting 140 pounds. He's still trying to capture another belt at 140 pounds. He don't want to be fighting at 145, basically fighting at the welterweight limit, basically fighting at the welterweight pounds. 145, 147 ain't too much difference. Basically giving up a huge weight advantage to Maurice Hooker. So that fight fell apart, and now Maurice Hooker has been let out his contract when he kind of pulled the kibosh on that fight. Matchroom and Eddie Hearn released him out of his contract, again, due to the financial problem they have going on with the zone. And now he signed with Al Haymon in the PBC. And now we're looking at a matchup between Maurice Hooker versus Josesito Lopez on the undercard of Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia. So that's the nugget you got here, man. Let me know what you think about that matchup, man. Once the matchup gets formally announced, you heard it here, officially announced, this is going to be the fight that the PBC is looking to make. But when it gets official, we'll break that fight down. But let's just do a quick thumbnail sketch of the fight, man. It's going to be an interesting matchup, man. Maurice Hooker is a good fighter, a good boxer, real good boxer. But his problem is he gets lulled into these phone booth, street fight, toe-to-toe battles. And he's going to have to get out of that, because if he gets in that type of battle with Josesito Lopez can hit. He got enough punching power to get Maurice Hooker up out of there. Maurice Hooker has shown that he's kind of chinny anyway, as we've seen in the Jose Ramirez fight. So Maurice Hooker, if he can keep that fight in the middle of the ring, box, use his jab, he's a southpaw, use his left hand, straight left, and keep the distance with Josesito Lopez, keep him at bay, he can win that fight. But if he lets Josesito Lopez back him up, get him on the ropes, well, Josesito Lopez can go to the body and do damage. It could be a tough and long night for it could be a tough long night, or even a tough short night for Maurice Hooker. So it's a very good stylistic matchup. You got the boxer who sometimes can be lured into a brawl versus the brawler who's known to upset the apple cart. Just look at his past performances when he upset Victor Ortiz. You know, he's a Riverside Rocket, man. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what transpires, man. But that's what Al Haymon and the PBC is looking to set up for Maurice Hooker's first fight. Now, one thing else I need to bring to your attention. Josesito Lopez's trainer is Robert Garcia. Robert Garcia trained Jose Ramirez, who defeated Maurice Hooker when they fought for the unified junior welterweight titles. And both guys put their titles on the line. So he's very familiar with Maurice Hooker. He's already been in a camp preparing one of his fighters to fight Maurice Hooker, and he'll be doing that again with Josesito Lopez. So that gives Josesito Lopez maybe an advantage in that regard, because he'll be very familiar. His trainer's very familiar with Maurice Hooker and his style. So so I would think Josesito Lopez, you know, like all fighters, but I'm in particular in this situation, would be very, very confident going into that fight with Maurice Hooker, knowing that his trainer has just had, within a year, just had one of his top fighters fight and defeat Maurice Hooker. A little bit different style, but kind of similar style. Both guys are go-getter type of fighters. Both guys are come forward type of fighter. Jose Ramirez and Josesito Lopez. And both guys' styles are very similar. So I'm pretty sure they're going to implement pretty much the same game plan that they implemented with Jose Ramirez when he was able to put the pressure on Maurice Hooker and chop him down and break him down and get the TKO stoppage over Maurice Hooker in Hooker's hometown, Fresno, Texas. Not his hometown, but basically right outside his hometown in Frisco, Texas. Frisco, Texas. I said Fresno, Texas. Frisco, Texas. And Jose Ramirez Jr. is from Fresno, California. Let me know what you think about this matchup in the comment section. Should be a very, very entertaining fight, man. It's gonna be a very good stylistic matchup. I'll get my official prediction. You know, week leading up to the fight, along with the Errol Spence Jr., Danny Garcia welterweight title clash. It should be a very good card, man. That's shaping up I think it's going to be in Los Angeles, California at the Microsoft Theater is what I'm hearing where the fight's going to take place. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. Just give you a quick thumbnail sketch of the Maurice Hooker versus Josesito Lopez, a.k.a. the Riverside Rocket, going against Dallas's own Maurice Hooker. We'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I'll holla.